Hello everyone, welcome to the live episodes of the Mind Doctor Show. I'm so excited. In fact, I feel like as if I'm like one of those contestants on American Idol and Ryan Seacrest has told me, oh, you're on the live shows. But guys, it's really, really wonderful to have you here on the live shows with us. It's going to be a journey that we're taking together. The beauty about live shows is that we are on this journey together. We are like, we can touch you, you can touch us. Later on in the show, there'll be a number where you can call and you can text topics you want us to touch on, anything you want us to talk about. It's like as if my hands are reaching out and massaging your brain, if that is not too weird. So guys, stick around with us. This is the Mind Doctor Show, and my name is Adanze Osomonika. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mind Doctor Show, the live episodes where we touch you and you can touch us. My name is still Adanze Osomonika. Guys, it's been an eventful 2020, and one of the things that we're going to talk about today, the main topic we're going to talk about today, is something that has been touched by everybody. Nobody can ever say they've never been touched by this thing. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about fear. Fear. We're going to talk about fear. We're going to tell you what it is, what causes it, the types of fear to be weary about, and most importantly, how COVID-19 has introduced fear into the equation of our country and our world as a whole, right? So let's even get right down into it. Let's get right into it. What is fear? What is fear? Fear is actually a very complex topic because it has so many parts, right? But to simplify it, right, fear is an emotion that arises when there is a threat of danger, pain, or harm. But I'll tell you one funny thing about it. It doesn't just arise because there's a threat of danger, pain, or harm. It can be a real threat, and it can be an imagined threat. So imagine how powerful the mind is. Your mind can literally think you into a state of fear. So you can imagine that there's a threat against you, and then you're suddenly afraid. That's the very, that's one of the fascinating things about fear. Another thing about fear is that fear can be positive and it can be negative. Think of it in like a double-edged sword, so to speak. A knife in the hand of a chef is a wonderful tool, but a knife in the hand of a murderer is a dangerous tool. So that's how fear can be. You can actually use fear to motivate yourself and achieve your goals because you don't want to fail, or you can use fear and it becomes like a serious demotivator. Another dangerous thing about fear is that fear, among all the emotions, because there are several emotions going on in a human's life, anger, jealousy, rage, all kinds of emotions. But fear, the peculiar thing about fear is that fear is one of the emotions that can hold us back. It can literally keep you in a cycle of reoccurring events that are not favorable to you. When we come into this world as babies, right, we only come into the world with two fears. And what are those two fears? The fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. So think with me, you're a baby, or maybe you even have a baby. Imagine you're carrying your baby. As soon as a noise, somebody bangs the door, somebody screams, just notice how your baby just jerks. So we come into this world with a fear of loud noises. We also come into this world with a fear of falling. That's when people can tell you that, oh, anytime I have a dream, I imagine myself falling, and it's so terrifying. So we come into this world naturally like that. But I'll tell you one thing, every other fear that you experience in this life are the ones that we have learned along the way. I remember a story they told me once about one of my uncles. He was a baby, a toddler at the time, maybe crawling, and then he picked up a millipede, and he was about to put it into his mouth before one of my aunties rushed and collected it out of his hand. Why did he pick up the millipede? He's about to eat it. He's a child. He's not afraid of anything. When you're a child, you're like titanium. Anything is possible. Anything is doable. You can take over the world. That is how you feel until an event is introduced into your life, or until a fear is learned in your life. How do we explain that? I'll give you different types of scenarios. Imagine now you have this father who maybe gets drunk every day and comes home at 8 p.m. every day, and every time he comes home, he heads straight to your room and gives you a slap or beats you for one thing or the other, right? If he does that on a regular basis, you start to realize that by the time you go to school in the morning, you're okay, you're doing okay, emotionally you're stable. You come home, you do your chores, you do any other thing, everything, you're stable. By the time it's 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., you start noticing your mouth starts running a little dry. Your heart starts beating a little faster. Oh, something is coming. Something is telling you something is coming, something is coming, something is coming. Until, boom, when you hear his horn or the door bangs and he's in, oh my God, he's here. How? Now, that experience has taught you to fear him. That experience has taught you to be in trepidation of what is happening, what normally happens to you at 8 p.m. in the night. That is one way of learning fear. Another way of learning fear is fear that is transferred. My daughter told me once that she likes cats. I should get her a cat. She likes cats. Now, I am what you call old school, old fashioned. I grew up, being told that cats, cats are the instruments of witches. Let me say it as it is, the way they told me. Cats are evil. In fact, you should never have a cat in your life. All that. So, whether I want to believe it or not, I've grown up somehow with that mindset. So, the day she told me she wanted a cat, that she would so love a cat. It took everything within me to just hold myself and not react the way I would have normally reacted. Because I would have said, what do you want a cat for? A cat? A cat of all creatures. A cat is actually very nice and very clean. But I was like, yeah, cats are dirty. Why? Because somebody along the way, sometime in my own journey, I learned to fear cats. Now, she doesn't fear cats. But do you know that I can project my fear of cats onto her? She's probably never had a bad experience with a cat. But if every day she tells me she wants a cat, and I say, you don't need a cats are terrible, cats are horrible, you don't need a cat, this, that. I just tell her all those things. By the time she's growing up and ever experiences a cat, she's going to be so scared. But how did she get that fear? She never had any negative experience with the cat. I projected that fear into her. That's one other way of us getting, by you taking in this fear. Another example, imagine yourself in the year 2001. Maybe you were on the steps. This is Nigeria, quite all right. But I'm talking about America now. Maybe you were on the steps of the wall of the Twin Towers, on September 7th. You were just right there. And all of a sudden, the planes were about to crash into the building. And all of a sudden, there was chaos all around you. Chaos everywhere. People are running. Everybody's screaming. Everybody's running. And you're just like standing there. And then you see that plane go right into that building. And you literally be frozen in one spot. But for the rock that's about to fall, you just dash out of the place. I guarantee you that for the next, how many, if not possible, for a major part of your life, that experience will not leave you. A certain kind of fear will be introduced into you because of that experience. It won't be that what causes the fear. It's not the event that happened. It wasn't because the plane just crashed into the building. It's the emotion that we attach to the event. The fear you saw all around you, the way that you felt when that plane was about to hit that building, the way that you felt seeing people bleeding all around, and if possible, maybe if you were injured as well, that same time, everything was so charged. You will never forget that experience. So what have I said? I've talked about 3 different times or 3 different ways that fear can enter into us. Fear is rooted in trauma. Most fears are rooted in trauma, or what you call an internalized negative experience. A girl meets a guy, and then all of a sudden, maybe all growing up, maybe she's the daughter of a single mother, for example, and her mother has always told her, men are scum, men are scum, men are scum, based on her own experience, you know. And then the girl just goes into a relationship. And God help her, that one guy, that first guy she goes into the relationship with, decides to cheat on her or beat her or do one thing to her. She's just going to, oh, men are scum, men are scum. That's what you think. But the funny thing is that because of the fear that was introduced to her, the negative emotion that was introduced to her, because of probably her mother's experience, every relationship she gets into will now be happening the same way. One bad relationship after another. One bad relationship after another. Because fear has been introduced into her. Let's talk about some of the symptoms of fear. Fear has physical symptoms and fear has psychological symptoms. Physical symptoms of fear: chills. You feel chills. You feel a dry mouth. You feel your heart is beating faster. Some people even have an upset stomach. Some people feel nauseous. They want to throw up. You know, some people they shortness of breath. You know, their heart they actually literally start hearing their heart beating in their ears. Start hearing that sound. That's some of the physical symptoms of fear. What are the psychological symptoms of fear? The feeling of loss of control, the feeling of this impending death or doom. You know, the feeling of like overwhelmed or being overwhelmed. Being overwhelmed. Have you felt overwhelmed lately? In the events that have happened, have you felt that slight feeling of being overwhelmed? I was talking about it with a few people recently, and we're talking about how, if you're in a home, for example, and all this while before COVID-19, your relationship with your husband has just been going on, you know, and then you guys think you have a fantastic relationship. And why do you have a fantastic relationship? Because first thing in the morning, he's out the door, you are out the door, nobody's cooking lunch, breakfast, or dinner for anybody. Everybody goes to work, everybody does what they need to do, you know, but all of a sudden, suddenly, we're in lockdown. And then all of a sudden, you have to be home cooking. You're both stuck in the same place. Maybe there's no extra space in the house. Suddenly, you have to relate. You know, suddenly, moms have been turned to teachers overnight, as if they weren't before. But suddenly now, they're helping to teach with the online classes. They're cooking. They're cleaning. They're having to take care of their husbands. They're having to take care of their homes. You know, so a mom can typically begin to feel that loss of control over their lives. That loss of control. During the course of time, during the past few days, we heard about entanglement, you know, hashtag entanglement. And then there was something that Jada Pinkett said. She said she felt like she was in a cage, you know. I tend to, when I listen to such interviews, I tend to, analyze it a bit more. Don't discount the feelings of what the person said he or she went through. Having the entanglement might not have been the answer, but note those other feelings. The feelings of not being in control. That is the way a lot of people kind of feel at this time. They feel as if they are no longer in control. When is the last time? So for some people, they've been in control of everything concerning their lives from the time that they were born. And suddenly they find out that they are no longer in control. So fear, what are you feeling at this time? Are you afraid? Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling, do you just break out into panic attacks without understanding why you're going through the panic attack? I want you to think with me. Think with me, what exactly is happening to you during this time? And we need to, you need to be able to think about it, and so that you can begin to look for ways to make sure that you are not caught in this cycle called fear. Very interesting topic, right? Fear is extremely, fear, there are different types of fear. I also have to mention that there are some fear that are as a result of mental health conditions. Guys, it's the Mind Doctor Show. My name is Adanze. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the live episodes of the Mind Doctor Show. Guys, I'm so happy that we're on this journey together. All of us are learning together. All of us are experiencing together. There was something that I said at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, that this is a pandemic and this is a virus that all of us are learning all at the same time, you know. So it's just the same way. As we're starting this mental wellness journey together, I trust that you are being taught, you are teaching yourself, you are touching yourself, you're trying to, come to terms with some of the things that you've been going through, and we are working towards mental wellness. Okay, so in the first segment, we talked about fear and how complex it is, and how, it can be positive and it can be negative. And what it is an emotion, Fear itself arises from a part of the brain called the amygdala. That's where that emotion comes from, right? So even at times, people can get stuck when there is significant trauma, when there's significant, stress on a person. It can adjust certain parts of the brain, and then the person can be stuck in that, state of fear. Let me give you a very good example. Maybe a couple has been having miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. Somewhere in the brain makes them register that as this miscarriage. So suddenly they hear the news that the wife is pregnant again. Two of them don't want to say what they are thinking to each other. In their mind, they are praying, oh my God, please let it be, let it stay, let it be, let it stay. But one of the things is that in the brain doesn't know the difference between present and past. So the brain, in the brain, all it's thinking about is, we've had a miscarriage before, so, what gives? It could be another miscarriage again. You need to actually retrain the brain. Tell the brain that this time it's going to be different. Before we went on the break, I was talking about a girl probably stuck in a cycle of terrible relationship after itself, terrible relationships, because somewhere inside her brain, it's already recorded that this relationship is just going to be like that same relationship, and the relationship before that, and the relationship before that. So she needs to now retrain her brain. No, this time it's going to be different. It's intentional. It's exhilarating, but it is intentional. So now let's talk about what I really want to talk about today. I want to talk about a particular kind of fear called chronophobia. What is chronophobia? As you know, there are so many fears, fear of heights, fear of this, fear of that. But chronophobia is the fear of the passing of time. In other words, it's the fear of the future. Throughout this time, I've gotten so many calls and so many texts from people, and they tell me, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I literally don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I was telling someone that at the beginning of this year, everybody may remember, go back in your mind to December 31st. Maybe you were in church. Maybe you were wherever you were, and maybe you just rushed into church a few minutes to 12 or wherever you rushed into because it was December 31st. And everybody was like, I'm even among those people that were like, 2020 is going to be lit. People were declaring 2020, my year of this, my year of that, 2020. Everybody was screaming 2020, So I read a joke that, I call it a joke, a post that a comedian wrote, Dear 2020, I beg. We wait, I can't say it broken. Now wait till we do you. Whatever we did to you, we are sorry. That's another way of you say, So as hilarious as that sounds, there's a sentiment in there that truly 2020 happened to be, didn't happen, didn't become what everybody thought it was going to be. January, maybe figure yourself as the guy who had planned, by July or August, I'll take my family to Dubai. We'll go for a normal year vacation. Then there's the girl who's pregnant. I'm due in June. I'll travel. I'll have my baby. Then there are the kids who are meant to graduate by they'll be planning their prom by July. Then there are those who are meant to travel abroad to school. People all over the place. They had their plans in January 2020. But all of a sudden, by March, something happened that we have never experienced what we experienced in March. Nobody would, I mean, my kids were laughing and they were just, they weren't even laughing, they were just, talking in a kind of like very, in a very thought-provoking manner that, wow, as in, people couldn't get on the roads, The guy, maybe imagine with me, the guy who was thinking that by July he would take his family to Dubai. By March, he was probably out of a job because people lost jobs. People lost lives. People lost companies. Whole companies folded, Suddenly people were told you don't have to come back to the office. Salaries were slashed. Some shows were cancelled, You're the musician. You had your plan this year. By the time you touch this show, touch that show, touch this show, touch that show, man, December. When December hits, if possible, you are traveling to the village with V-boot or the rest. That kind of a thing. But behold, every plan was changed. So suddenly you find people that have never, ever been anxious in their lives. Suddenly they're anxious. What brings about things like chronophobia? A severe stressful situation or a traumatic experience can bring on a chronophobia. Traumatic experience, would we call, COVID-19 was definitely a traumatic experience. Bringing on, chronophobia. A lot of people never thought they would ever be anxious about anything in their lives, and suddenly now they're anxious. But I'll tell you another thing. I'll talk about there's a kind of fear that people kind of live with silently. I'll give you an example. Let's say you started going to school, primary school, you always loved school. School was wonderful to you. You were, okay. And then all of a sudden, one day, you got beaten mercilessly by a bully, right? Or one overzealous teacher. Suddenly, you're afraid of school. Suddenly, every time you're getting ready to go to school that morning, you're kind of like scared. But now you grow up, you kind of grow out of it. Oh, no more fear of school. But have you noticed that there are a few people, and I've met some patients like that they're getting ready for work in the morning, and they're afraid. Nothing is going to happen in the office. Nobody's going to beat them or anything. But because that feeling of when you're getting ready for school, when you were a child, you always had that trepidation of getting ready for school. Suddenly you're a grown-up, you still feel that trepidation. Now, I'm talking about trepidation that happens even when there was no COVID-19. So a client reached out to me and he told me that I don't know what's wrong with me. I go to work, I'm afraid. I'm just afraid, I'm afraid. I'm always afraid. I see my boss coming. He's not even going to shout at me. He's not even going to talk to me. And my heart is beating. My heart is already beating. So you think about people who already have that silent trigger within them. They're walking around, they're still coming to work, they're doing what they need to do, but they are carrying that fear, and they've been carrying that fear for a long time. And then suddenly, COVID-19 now actually happens. What they've always feared, they lose their job, they lose their source of livelihood, they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, they are just lost, right? So what are we talking about? Chronophobia, the fear of the passing of time. It's a real experience. And what are the kind of symptoms that people experience when they are going through chronophobia? Bouts of anger. Somebody tries to talk to you, irritability. Somebody tries to talk to you, you snap. You're like on the edge somehow. You're like living on the edge. You don't know when you're going to lose it. Somebody called me and told me, I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. It's like as if I'm losing my mind. It's like as if I'm losing my mind. I just cannot keep it together to settle down and just, do my work. I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to feed my family? So these are real fears. So if you find yourself very, very irritable, getting extremely angry, there are even cases of people are breaking out into tears. Depression has set in just because of, of the experience of what is happening with the pandemic. So what I say is that by the time we are done, by the time the pandemic, the wave and the heat of the pandemic is over, we'll find ourselves dealing with so much mental illnesses that have been wrought because of the trauma of the pandemic. Another way that chronophobia gets introduced into a system is what you call irresponsible, journalistic media exposure of the pandemic. Maybe you never even lost your job. Maybe you didn't lose your job, nothing, but you still find yourself getting really, really anxious because your eyes are always permanently on the news, watching the pictures of people dying, there's this happening, there's that happening. That overexposure to the dangers of that pandemic kind of like just puts you in that state of terror. The bad thing about fear is that if it is not dealt with properly, it develops into full rage phobia. And from phobia, it's not just like let me say it in a way that you understand. When something becomes a very strong phobia, it begins to interfere with your daily life. I'll give you an example. When people someone say, I'm scared of spiders, I have a phobia for spiders, I have a phobia. No, I'll tell you, the real phobia for spiders is not, I see spider, I start screaming, oh, that means I have a phobia for spiders. No. It means that if you have a phobia for spiders, if you really have a phobia for spiders, you find yourself spending reasonable amounts of the day thinking about spiders, thinking about how to avoid spiders, thinking of how to organize your life in such a way that it avoids colliding with a spider. Isn't that there's something wrong with that? That is exactly how bad a fear can become. It can suddenly take over your life. That's all that you're thinking of. If you wake up in the morning and you are only thinking about how am I going to, tomorrow is really going to be so bad. I tell you, that's how the whole day, that's how the trajectory of your day will be. They don't know exactly what is good, what they can do to get themselves out of being in fear. Remember I said in the second segment that one of the dangers about fear is that it's one of the emotions that can hold us back. It can hold us bound. You can literally be in a state of paralysis because of your fear of a certain thing. I'll give you an example. I had a fear, let me play the scenario for you. Back in secondary school, when we all come out for inter-house sports to do exercises, to run, where they come to test the champs, And I was in an all-girls boarding school. So we had what you call drama. When they say girls start running, Next thing, somebody is having an all-out chest pain, asthma attack. But the asthma attack looks like, as far as I was concerned, at that age, I felt they were all having seizures, I felt like as if I was seeing a scene from Exorcist, if you've ever watched that film, where the girl is like literally, vibrating and all the rest. So, and I did not know that at that time, those visions of girls trying to run or girls trying to do physical activity and almost, some had to carry them out on stretchers, because they were also freaked out. So I didn't know how much it affected me. So by the time I now tried to run or tried to do anything, I would feel like as if my lungs were going to explode and that I was going to die. I would literally hear the words, you are going to die. If you go beyond this point, you are going to die, So, but being young, I didn't really understand. I just felt, oh no, physical fitness is just not for me. That was just my own, analysis from the whole thing. I just said, I told myself I'm allergic to exercise, And that was as a teenager. Fast forward years later, when I now turned 40 and then we're told, oh, look, you have to, forget guys, what I was going to say. But see, when I now turned 40 and I was told that, look, you need to get healthier, you need to lose weight, all that stuff. And everybody knows that the real road to losing weight, aside from diet, is exercise. And I was like, man, this same exercise that I've been running from for how many years of my life, I have come to meet it here. But I did not realize that actually it was a fear that was introduced into me as a teenager, that if I do any kind of strenuous exercise, I would die or be carried out. So guys, this session, as we said, this session is all about taking calls, and our numbers are on the screen. Call, you're free to call, text, whatever questions you have for us. I have a few questions here, but we're waiting for your calls. Any questions you have concerning fear? I have a question here. Okay, I have a question here. Dear Mind Doctor, I just got out of a violently abusive relationship, but now I'm scared all the time. I freeze up whenever someone else tries to get close to me. I have visions of being beaten and I get so scared. What do I do? Wow, this is You know, I'm literally imagining what this young lady or whatever age might be going through, because that's what trauma does and that's what fear does. It kind of like just paralyzes you. So any other relationship that she's trying to have, anybody trying to reach out to her, anybody trying to touch, trying to get close to her, she's going to think that they are trying to, you know, get the worst of her. Do we have a call? Well, the first thing I would even suggest, because at some point in our last segment, we'll talk about tips about what you can do. So just to keep on watching before the show runs out. I'll talk about a few tips of how you can handle handle yourself in this state of fear. But let me go on with some other questions. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid. Dear my doctor, I don't know what to do. I'm afraid all the time. I'm scared at work. This was the one I was talking about. When I run into my boss, at times I have this terror, even when I haven't done anything wrong. He's never been mean to me, yet I'm scared all the time. So the question I have or rather the answer I would ask, or one of the questions I would ask to this person is, do you have any altercation? Have you had any issues with your boss prior to this? No. He said no. You know, so where is the fear coming from? Because it was introduced at some point, and now at this particular age, you have now how will I say, you have replaced whatever was the object of your fear before. You have replaced it with the boss in the office. That's what is happening. So we have to address what was the object of your fear before and what was causing that fear. So that's one step. That's the first step to handling that, right? Next question. Is there a difference between fears and phobias? Is there a difference between fears and phobias? Okay, we mentioned this earlier. The fears and phobias are extremely similar. Okay, we have a call.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
My name is Lola. I'm calling from Lagos.
Oh, hello, Lola. Thank you for calling. What can we, feel free.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I just want to say I'm enjoying the show, and this topic is a very nice topic, and I feel like everybody needs to hear all these things that you're saying. I feel like it's going to help people a lot this period.
Oh, I'm so well. That is why we are here.
It's helping me as well.
Oh, great. Thank you for that.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, wow, that's great. We're very, very happy to hear that, because what we want to achieve with the Mind Doctor show, especially the Mind Doctor live episodes, we want to address the things that you are dealing with here and now. So you can actually even text us. Against next week, you can text us now. Tell me if there's anything you want addressed, anything you want us to talk about. We want it to be a show that helps you right where you are. So guys, we have another call. We want the show to be something that can reach you, deal with issues that you are dealing with right now. So you can call us or text us, tell us how you're feeling, tell us what you need us to talk about, tell us how to reach you, how to get to you, how to help you. Great. We have another call. Hello? You can also text us. You can actually also text us if you're finding it hard to get through to us. But you can also text us with your, with your contributions, your... Hello? Hello?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
My name is Hugh. Hello?
Yeah, hello. Your name? I didn't get your
My
name.
name is Hugh. I'm calling from Ikeja.
Oh, welcome. Welcome. Yeah, from Ikeja. Jim from Ikeja.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to ask a question. Is it possible for someone to still have fears of the dark, even at, say, you are like 38, 39? Because basically, to have fear of the dark, you have to be like a child. But when you cross a certain age, maybe not, you cannot start telling people like, I'm afraid of the dark. Like, I cannot sleep in an apartment alone. Like, somebody has to be with me. Is it possible for you to be that old and still be afraid of the dark?
Yes, yes, definitely, because fear of the dark is actually one of the phobias too. You know, look at it this way, you know, the feeling of, maybe let's say if someone is just taken and blindfolded, the feeling of not being able to see raises a kind of terror within oneself. So at any age, it's not that because you're much older, for you to be able to deal with fear of the dark, you have to actually have told yourself, oh, there's nothing in the dark. There's nothing. I'm much older now. Nothing can get me in the dark. And also, I also would love to ask, when you were afraid of the dark as a child, was there any particular, what was the thing that really struck you about the dark? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, guys. We need to take a short break. It's the Mind Doctor Show, and we'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mind Doctor Show. It's been a very, very, very interesting time here. We've been, as in, our line has been inundated with calls. But there's something I want to say. If you're trying to call us, make sure you lower the volume on your TV set so that you'll be able to hear us well, because there was 1 or 2 calls that we lost. And another thing, you can always text us. You can always text us with your, even after the show, text us with your questions, text us with the things you want us to address. You know, there was a guy that called, I was talking about being in the dark and all that. But guys, see, time flies when you are when you are live. Let me just say it like that. So guys, it's been a wonderful time with you. We trust we'll come your way. When we come your way next week, you know, stay strong, stay safe, you know, and, you know, take care of each other. It's the Mind Doctor Show.